Hey, what's good, everybody? You're watching another episode of Know This. We're here at your mom's house in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and today my guest is Damon Young, aka The Champ, one half of the popular blog VerySmartBrothas.com. He's also the head editor of the Hill Review, an African American literary arts magazine founded by the August Wilson Center for African American Culture here in Pittsburgh. And he's also the author of a very funny book, Your Degrees Won't Keep You Warm at Night, The Very Smart Brotha's Guide to Dating, Mating, and Fighting Crime. That's quite a title.
It is. It's a long title.
First, tell us about VerySmartBrothas.com, how it got started. I know it's about relationships. I think we're in the perfect environment. We got a black leather couch.
Yeah, we got the plush leather. You know, we got the flat screen right here. It's almost like we're on a date, except for we have, you know, people. Yeah. I guess those are roommates.
How'd you get the title Very Smart Brothas?
It just came.
Yeah,
one day we were
having
a conversation. Yeah, well, we are. You know, very smart. You know, we have a ton of degrees that don't keep us warm at night, but they do keep my wall populated with
plaques and
things, you know.
So what's the mission behind VerySmartBrothas.com? When you go on the site, you can get very funny articles on topics of relationships, dating, pop culture. You kind of do a mix of all of that. So what do you want people to get out of it when they visit?
I want people to enjoy themselves. Mm-hmm. I want people to be able to, you know, read online, you know, certain conversations that they probably had at happy hour, or that they had a game night, or that they had, you know, sitting around the cafeteria in their dorm room. And I want them to feel like, hey, you know what, there are other people that are having these same issues. Mm-hmm. There are other people that are thinking these same thoughts. And again, with the blog, you know, I know people don't just come for what we write, but they come for the community.
Yeah.
Because our blog posts typically get, you know, anywhere from 300 to even sometimes up to 1,200 comments.
Wow.
That interaction has actually branched off of the blog, where we've had people who've befriended each other and have started vacationing with each other just based off meeting in the comment section at VSB.
Any dates? Any successful
dates, hookups? I don't know.
Marriage,
it depends on what you mean by successful.
Yeah.
There might be a VSB baby.
Okay.
There might. Yeah.
It could be a whole separate blog. We can have the photos and the I read Very Smart Brothas and I got a date.
Yeah. I got pregnant.
Well, I did read Very Smart Brothas. It was very funny.
Pregnant? No, you didn't.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to. It was last night, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. You cover topics like platonic, schmatonic, why platonic relationships can exist for the most part. Another chapter was the tenets of grown-assness, and friend zone, 6 signs that you've been given the just a friend title.
Yeah, those are, and again, those are 3 topics that I guess, you know, people talk about, people joke about, you know, starting with the platonic, schmatonic. I think that's actually the first chapter in the book. And
it is a contention. I do feel like there are a lot of, you know, women be like, oh yeah, I can just have a guy friend. I've started believing that the platonic can't really.
Well, and this is.
So you break it down. How do you break it down?
It's not necessarily that you can't have friends of the opposite sex. I don't say, and I try to make that very clear in the chapter. It's just that the term platonic does not fit. Mm-hmm. Because platonic, you know, if you were to go by the strictest definition of the term,
this is where the very smart comes in. We're getting
you're about to get schooled. Men and women typically, unless we're at work or maybe at school, don't just meet new friends. Don't just go out to, oh, you know, I need to meet a new friend today. Mm-hmm. You know, what typically happens is a man sees a woman, might be interested in her in a certain way. Maybe that interest isn't reciprocated, or maybe they see that, you know, they're just not compatible, you know, in that way. But there still is a, you know, a latent attraction there. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if they were the last man or the last woman on earth, they probably, you know, get it. Even if they weren't the last, if they were just the last man and the last woman at the club. And
another one is with the tenets of grown-assness. We're a couple that we need to know if we want to be grown-ass men and women. Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're a woman, once you reach a certain age, you should realize that, hey, you know, I'm naturally sexy, I'm naturally attractive as a woman. I don't have to walk around with, you know, my nipples hanging out and, you know, bend over so everybody can see my ass crack in my thong.
Yeah.
Can I cuss? I say ass
Yeah, that's
crack.
okay. We've been saying
Alright.
that word a couple times.
It's funny, I asked if I could say ass crack, which was me saying ass crack the second time.
And now
I've
about
said it 4 times.
Yeah.
You're downtown, a guy's downtown or waiting for a bus or, you know, at work or whatever, and an attractive woman walks past. Okay. And you see guys do this all the time where, in fact, we need to act this out.
Okay.
Fine.
Alright, let's do it.
Alright, so I'm waiting for a bus. And so you walk by.
Okay,
you walk by. And this is how you're supposed to, you know, she was nice looking. Okay. But this is I walk by, this is the piss boy pirouette.
Okay.
Goodness. Oh, wow. Okay. So, and you see guys do that. You know, where a woman walks past and they act like they've never seen an attractive woman before. It's like, they're diabetics and an insulin syringe is walking past them.
Yeah.
They get crazy. And, part of being a grown up is realizing, hey, you don't have to do all of that.
But the friend zone thing is there's always that obscure, there's always like hints going on and women kind of thinking they can hint, but it's like, no, you just need to be explicit with the dude and all of that. So what are some of these 6 signs?
Well, why don't you tell me? Have you put a guy in a friend zone before?
Yes.
So what separated that interaction from a non-friend zone?
Oh, put me on
interaction.
Black. Well, they're still friends of mine, so they might be.
Yeah, and you keep things less intimate.
Yeah.
If you're a good person, because I know there are also some women who will invite a guy over at like 2 in the morning, and I just want to cuddle
on their black leather couch.
Yeah, on the black leather couch at the
the Alizé.
Alizé Hypnotic. And so that's just one sign. I mean, there are other things. She always refers to you as buddy, or you're like a brother to me, or you're like you're like a uncle. That's not really my uncle's age. That's like my age.
That's horrible.
But you're like
have you ever gotten that one?
I've never gotten that one.
That's a horrible one to get. You're like an uncle.
I've gotten the buddy before.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're
like
my buddy. You're my friend. You're like a grandfather who is the exact same age as me, but you're like my grandfather to me.
Like that makes me feel
you're so
sexy.
wise and unsexy.
Okay, so if people want to pick up this book, The Very Smart Brotha's Guide to Dating, Mating, and Fighting Crime, they can find this on Amazon.
On Amazon, Barnes & Noble, not Borders anymore, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Borders, people.
Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing some of your wisdom. Again, the book is called Your Degrees Won't Keep You Warm at Night. The Very Smart Brotha's Guide to Dating, Mating, and Fighting Crime. Your education really just isn't enough. You gotta have the other street smarts with it.
Yeah, like the RZA said on, Woo Forever. And I think RZA is the smartest person on the planet. Yeah. You don't have to go to summer school this year. Just pick up the Very Smart Brotha's book, and it'll give you all the education you need this year.
So if you didn't know about verysmartbrothas.com, about the champ, now you know.
Now you know.